my story began 4 years ago when I was given a diagnosis of metastatic melanoma in several parts of my body. I had a few surgeries, and one of which was shown that I had lymphatic disease as well. The cancer had spread to my lymphatics. So I then had to go in with a surgery, but prior to that, my surgeon had said, you're going to want to stay ahead of this and you will develop lymphedema. So I'm so blessed that I had a woman in my life that was a massage therapist whose friend was a lymphatic specialist. And so she told me that I needed to get ahead of it and take control of it before lymphedema controls me. And so I had appointments with a lymphedema specialist before I even had that surgery. So
then the surgery caused the lymphedema by taking your lymph nodes out?
Yes, I have a long incision on my upper left thigh, across my lower abdomen, and into my pelvic area. So the scarring really prohibited lymphatic drainage, as well as, the way they explain it is though they take the bridge out and there's nowhere for the lymphatic fluid to it basically pools up. It can't cross the bridge and drain out.
So what were the solutions they gave you for pain?
The solutions that were given to me to manage my lymphedema actually were to wear compression stocking every day. Initially, I was wearing it at night. I had to have it there at my surgery, and it got to the point that wasn't enough. So I had seen my lymphedema specialist had suggested I come in at least 3 times a week to do decongestive lymphatic massages. So it's where they push up the lymphatic fluid to get it to flow up and be removed. So that was hard. That was really hard because not only was when the lymphedema became very heavy and my skin was really tight, the drainage, they're forcing the fluid, and it's anyone that has been through it understands that you have to do these procedures or whatever you have to do to prevent your skin from tightening and the concrete feeling from building up in your leg and becoming immobile, and the weight of it and just the pain. So
how long was the drive to?
Well, it would take me 30 minutes to get there. And I would have my lymphatic decongestive massage. Basically, it's not really a massage. It's a very painful process when you have swelling in your leg and tightness. And so I would then have to drive home with your leg straight down because my vehicle didn't allow for my lymphatic leg to stretch out. So it helped temporarily, but in time, that just was not enough. So I had to go into wrapping. Wrapping was hard. So I had to buy a lot of, they're like a foam, plastic wraps, ace bandages. And they would start wrapping down with my foot. I'd have this net stocking put on and these foam wraps starting from my foot all the way up to my upper thigh. And it was very painful to go through, and it was very, very hard. I looked like a really huge Stay Puft Marshmallow, or like the Michelin Man, or like I wouldn't even say a mummy because a mummy is thin. It was very painful, and I had to do that every day. And so it was hard because my husband or you would try to help me, and it's difficult because they don't know how much pain they're creating. And I just recall as he's wrapping just being in tears, and just it was just really painful to go through that, and going through events and knowing when humidity hit in Michigan, In May, our daughter was graduating from Grand Valley, and I needed to go to well, guess what? You have zero clothes that fit. It is a one thing after another. So you're getting wraps, you're having the decongestive massages. With the wraps, you need to get clothes that are 2 to 3 times the size because your one leg or your one limb doesn't fit. And then I thought, okay, let's try a dress. And then, it's just really uncomfortable because then you have to find a shoe. Your foot doesn't fit in anything. And then you have to match the other foot. And it's a really cumbersome, painful, horrific journey. And it really immobilized me a lot. So what ended up happening is I stopped doing a lot of stuff because when I would go out, even if it were a celebratory function, I would suffer. So going from that, they moved me into the compression. It's a boot, except what happened is getting the wraps ended up making things worse for me because I had scar tissue all over my hip. And so it went all the way up the side of my hip and part of my buttock. So they couldn't wrap that area. They tried. I had gotten a compression belt that went across my waist. And that wasn't enough. So they moved me into what most people get as a compression boot. Well, that wasn't enough for me. They had to do this custom one, and it was 2 boots, and it went up to here. It was just below my chest area, and I would have to do this a minimum of an hour of a day. And that was hard because sometimes, going into the summer, the humidity would be so high. So you could just walk outside and you'd walk outside and the humidity would just like drain. You could feel like almost as though a water faucet would go off in your leg. And you think, oh gosh, how am I going to get through this? And you're trying to get in the car and you're lifting your leg up to get in because you gotta do some things. Sorry. So this boot, they had to do it on both legs and up my chest. But because when I'd go out with the humidity, it was so inflamed. So my skin was so tight, almost as if it were going to burst. And the weight of my leg was so heavy that when the circulation compression boot was on me, it ended up creating more pain, so I couldn't bear an hour. So I do it as long as I could and do it more frequently. It's like I was enslaved to this. I was in prison to this compression unit. And so my dad got married out of the state, so I had to take that with me. I ended up with all of these issues. And so that's where my journey led me to naturopathic school, because I was determined to get healthy and, as my girlfriend said, stay on top of it, stay in control so your lymphedema doesn't control me, or control you is what she would say. But it did. It imprisoned me a lot, and so I decided to go to naturopathic school. So when I had to travel for a wedding or for school, I had to pay for extra luggage because I had to lug my wraps and I had to lug my compression boot system. And pretty ironic when you have to pay money to carry something that is painful yet something you have to do so things don't get even worse, just to stabilize it. So when I did travel, my first hands-on training, I needed to go in person. And so I went to Oklahoma for hands-on training. And I went a day early to the wellness center. So I got there, half a day early, went to the hotel room, washed up, put on my compression boot system, did that because I was traveling. I did that for, I don't know if I even made it 30 minutes, because when you're in an airplane for hours with your legs straight, it wasn't good. So kind of sucked it up and thought, okay, let's go find where school is. So I went after finishing my treatment, and I found the wellness center. I went to them and I said, okay, let's see, what can I do? I'm here. I'm excited. Let's see what I can partake in your wellness system. Well, they had a sauna. Couldn't do a sauna. Hot foot bath, hot stones, massage. Lymphedema, that's a nightmare. It increases, it makes it worse. A tanning booth. They have this really cool tanning booth, right? And it has no UV rays, but it also emits vitamin D. So anyone that has lymphedema knows heat and lymphedema don't mix. So I'm like, what else is there? Well, we have this machine. They had only had this machine for like 2 weeks. And I said, do you have a lymphedema frequency? Because I love frequencies.
Frequency therapy.
Yes, it's frequency therapy, and so it's specific to the area of their body or condition. And this machine is FDA approved for pain. So if it's FDA approved for pain, man, I just took a long trip and I'm all about it. So let me do this machine. So they set me up. It was a 29-minute session. There was no pain in the process of using the machine, nothing whatsoever. So after I had done that, I had grabbed a bite in the farm to table cafe there. And then I went back to the hotel to prep for the next day. So I did not use my compression boot that night. When I woke up the next day, oh my goodness, the Wellness Pro, could it actually have reduced my lymphedema? I didn't know if I was losing it or if it was real. I had no clue, because it was a gift. It was truly a gift. So I go to school, and I have 2 long days of school. So Saturday and Sunday, then I fly home on Monday. It just so happens I had an appointment with my lymphedema specialist, who had called in another compression stocking person to give me a customized stocking, because I hadn't found the right stocking after trying dozens and having had a custom one made before. It just didn't fit right. And it was, anyhow, when I went into my appointment on Tuesday morning, my lymphedema lady had me, my lymphedema specialist had me get on the table. She gets out the measuring tape and said, hold on, let me look at your measurements. And she takes the tape out again and said, I don't know what happened. I can't remember if it was 7 or 8 centimeters reduced in my upper thigh. It was crazy. So it really felt good, because I thought, am I losing it? Am I psychotic? Is this really working? I'm telling you, I traveled home. I had, the pain wasn't as fierce. It helped not only the pain, but, it helped the tightness in my leg. And clearly it reduced it. So I had gotten home and I had spoke with my husband and said, I'm not losing my mind. This machine actually helped. So he told me, it doesn't matter how, but we need to get you one of those machines. So that was my journey. And I went from being imprisoned to getting my life back. Actually, I can run circles around my kids again. That's the glory of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.